Hi everyone, it's Shane here. Just thought I'd jump in and just say welcome to everyone on behalf of the whole iMoot team. In this session we've got Bas sharing with us on mobile learning. I'm sure if you've been around Moodle for a while, you would know Bas, or at least heard his name, and I certainly appreciated his talks last year. I think it was on Bootstrap, at least that's where I know you from. And so, yeah, he certainly knows his stuff, so looking forward to this session. So, Bas, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Shane. Well, hi, everybody. Nice to meet you here. This is the second run of this session, and unfortunately, there aren't that many people out here, so maybe I can change this session a bit to be more interactive if you'd like. So, first of all, would you like to give a small introduction in the chat window on who you are and what you do with Moodle? I can load up my presentation. So, a little introduction about myself. I'm a developer, designer, and kind of a geek sometimes. That's because I really love coding, and I really like doing both back-end and front-end development. And this talk is going to be about Moodle on mobiles. So, or actually, it's not Moodle on mobiles, Moodle on multiple devices. Oh, thank you. So you're a Moodle admin. So first question for you to answer is, okay, trainer, developer, consultant, helping instructors and students with Moodle, other technologies. Okay, so cool. I'll jump to my first slide because this is about something that we all have in common, of course. And what we all do have in common is that when we leave our house, usually you check your pockets if you've got everything, like your keys, your wallet, and of course your mobile phones. Everybody takes them everywhere. And you see that a lot in the streets nowadays and on the trains. Everybody's just isolated looking at their phones. But that's how it is nowadays. And oops, seems like my browser froze. Okay, can you still hear me? Crap. Oh, I was muted. Okay. Oh, now I can hear myself. Annoying. Okay, now I can hear horrible echo. Yes, I am. So I just kicked myself out of this session. Okay, am I back? Yay. Okay, great. Sorry about that. So what I was talking about is using your devices in different ways. And what I really want to make very clear is that we often interact very differently on all these devices we have. You use your mobiles for texting your peers or reading bits of text or using your apps. And if you are going to write an assignment or something, you usually use your laptop. It's nice and convenient. And in the evening when you're a bit tired and you just want to relax, you might watch a video on your tablet. And of course, you play games on your gaming console, but you often interact differently on these devices. So what happens a lot is that you switch devices during the use of something like your LMS. So you want to be able to switch from using it on your mobile to your tablet to your laptop, and maybe in future even to your gaming console if they have a nice browser. And lots of your learners have a very personal relationship with their mobile phones. Of course, they use it to message their friends a lot, and they take pictures of their lives, making calls, and your mobile doesn't even know where you are, and it still stores all this information. So they are actually very personal devices, and using something for learning on a personal device might be very nice and very good. Users could upload their personal videos or pictures, and I think it's important that we look at these functions that these mobile devices have to create great learning content. So delivering learning content on mobile. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, I think it's important that you use a responsive theme. Of course, everybody knows now that Moodle has Bootstrap and Core, and we can all use it. If you have a custom theme, maybe you don't have it responsive yet, but it's not that difficult to move it to something responsive. I think it's good to make a learning strategy. Although I'm not a teacher myself, I'm a developer. So my focus or my thoughts on how to create good learning content might be a bit different from what teachers think is good. But I think if you have a good strategy, that helps. So that's important. And then there's a content strategy as well. So how do you make your content nice and readable and functional on mobile devices? And if you start designing something for learning, try to design it for your mobile devices first so that you create it perhaps on your desktop, but have your mobile next to you to check how things look and if they work well and if they're quick enough. Thanks, Paula. So, and test everything on your own devices. If you have a tablet or a phone, and even an old phone, I love having old phones. It's nice to try and do some learning on that to see how it works and if there's anything that's good or bad about it. So, a little history on Moodle and theming. So this is how a Moodle login page would look on the default theme in Moodle prior to 5.2. So it's all very tiny, and you need to pinch in to get to the input boxes, and even the links are hard to click. So your finger is probably far too big to be able to click on every link precisely. And this is how it looks using a Bootstrap theme. And I think the most important thing is that it focuses on the main content first, and it presents it in a way that's nice for touch. It's just big enough and it's readable. And actually, this is the login. And if you have the sign up enabled, it will be shown underneath this, so people can scroll down, swipe down to get to that bit of content. So Bootstrap for Moodle was created for at first, I think about 2 years ago now. But of course, I did not make Bootstrap. and neither did any of the other Moodle devs. It's something out there that's a CSS framework, and it's been created by Jacob Thornton. He was a developer at Twitter at the time. That's why they called it Twitter Bootstrap. And nowadays he works at this spin-off company from Twitter. So and the other developer working on Bootstrap is not with Twitter anymore too. So they decided to just name it Bootstrap. And Jacob Thornton is really an inspiring person. He has some sessions. There was a session in Paris a while ago where he did a talk on the history of the internet and how things evolved, and it was just very, very nice, hilarious even. So if you're interested in that, go watch that. It's really cool. And the other developer, that's Mark Otto, working at GitHub at the moment. I think Jacob was more of the creative person and Mark more of the core developer person in Bootstrap, but they both worked on it together. And of course, Bootstrap has evolved, and that's because of a community as well, because Bootstrap's open source, it's on GitHub, everybody can contribute and post issues, and I think that is one of the reasons that Bootstrap has evolved and gone really big. Okay, Nadav, that's cool. If you'd like to share some more information about that, it'd be helpful, I guess. So more about Bootstrap and the Moodle Bootstrap theme. So Bootstrap, as I said, was developed by Jacob Thornton and Mark Otto, and these are their Twitter accounts, so you can check them out on Twitter. And David Scottson and myself developed most of the Bootstrap theme. And that was a theme that was released on the plugin database on moodle.org. And then, well, actually, the history behind it, to be honest, is that I had this chat with Stuart Lamour on the Dublin Moodle Moot 2 years ago, and he showed me that with some really simple tools, you could make something responsive out of Moodle. It would just take 5 minutes to do it. And I didn't believe him at first, of course. I thought, well, 5 minutes for a Moodle theme, that's impossible. And he showed me some of his work that he tried, and it didn't work really well, but it was the idea that was really good to start working on this responsive theme using Bootstrap. So we tried to start it off together, and of course it didn't take 5 minutes. It took far longer than 5 minutes. And but then again, well, we started, and Stuart, he didn't have much time because he's always busy at the university with his kids and everything. So he mainly decided to do more of the advisory role on it. And then David Scottson was doing a Bootstrap theme as well. So I saw it on GitHub, so I contacted him and asked if we could work together. And he liked that, so we did. We started working together and created the first version of the Bootstrap theme that was on the Moodle plugin database for the themes. And then last year's Moodle Moot in England or Ireland, we had a session on the Hackfest to see if we could get this theme into core, because it's not only nice to use, but it's kind of forces developers to write better code and try to use the CSS framework provided by Bootstrap. So, well, that happened in Moodle 2.5. We got Bootstrap in, and now it's going to be the default for Moodle 2.7. Well, it is already. So, and that's really cool. So there's a bit about versioning there too. So Bootstrap, the Bootstrap theme for Moodle was first released in Bootstrap version 2, so the Twitter Bootstrap version 2. And now Bootstrap has moved to version 3. And again, together with David, me, and Joby Harden, Gareth here on the Moot, we're working on making it work well with Moodle, and we're still facing issues, so it's still beta. The theme for the iMoot is based on the Bootstrap 3 theme, and you can use it in the course that you go in to visit this presentation. I added some simple snippets of code to show you what you can do using Bootstrap without doing any coding, actually. It's just HTML. So how did we get this to work? So, well, Moodle themes are simple, right? Very simple. So you've got Moodle core here in this image. That does all this great stuff. And then you've got processors that process the CSS or the HTML coming from core. And then you've got all these different pages for login or just standard pages and admin pages and course pages. And what if you're in a course page? So there's all these different layouts that are defined in the pages. And then the CSS gets filtered too, and the HTML gets filtered. And that gives you, or that makes Moodle render iframes, for instance, with YouTube videos in them and everything. So that happens too. Then, of course, the CSS is parsed by our browser, and I forgot to mention the JavaScript that's required. So Bootstrap requires jQuery JavaScript, and that, of course, doesn't work with Moodle because we have YUI. So forgot that bit. And then you've got all these different user devices to cater to. So pretty simple, yeah. Well, not actually. No, it's not that simple. It took a lot of work to get there, to get it into core. I think it took a lot of work to get it ready for 2.7. It's going to take a lot of work to get Bootstrap 3 ready. And then, of course, there's a lot of work being done creating an element library for Moodle, which I'll be talking about a bit more later. So how did we get this to work? Well, of course, we were a team of developers working on it. Then there were some testers too that proved really helpful. Paul Hibbets did a presentation here as well about creating a course in using a Bootstrap theme. He used Aardvark, which also uses Bootstrap. And well, he gave a lot of feedback on things we needed to fix. And here in this session, Nadav is here, and he's been helping a lot doing right to left fixes and giving us feedback on that, and not just right to left things, but also the really nasty things that happen in the gradebook sometimes. So all these kinds of fixes come in through GitHub and in the issue list, and we try to fix them and have discussions about them if they're a good fix and if we should do it or not. And then, of course, Moodle HQ is involved in Bootstrap too. So they're doing a lot of work, and getting it to be a core theme, of course, was a long process. And at some point, I got over 100 messages a day from the tracker, which was a bit overwhelming. But, well, I survived, luckily. So the tracker and GitHub are really important tools for that. And here's some examples of what you can do with a Bootstrap 3 or 2 or 3 theme. What's important to know that Bootstrap is actually just a clean slate for theming. So it's a base theme. It's an unstyled theme. It's more of fixing the user interface than doing the styling. So with a Bootstrap theme, you can add a child theme or make a copy of the theme and modify it to fit your styling and branding. And what's important is that it has some features that are really useful for the developers. And the most important one, I think, is the grid. And this mock-up shows how the grid can be used. Here's a list of courses. This is a Moodle front page. And to the left, you see some blocks, and to the right, there's some extra, it's like advertisements there, and got a nice background image. And each of these courses are images with some extra info about the teacher, and you can click the image to go into the course. So you can do all that with a custom theme. Now switch to a tablet. What you see is that the advertisements disappeared. So they're nice to have if you have a big enough screen, but it's not important, so we can get rid of that on a smaller screen. And moving on, this is a tablet in vertical position, and you can see that you still have your navigation to the left. The courses show up to the right, and you can scroll down to find your course. And this, of course, works if you don't have hundreds and hundreds of courses, just the courses you're enrolled in, or maybe just a few categories. And this is how it can look on a mobile. So all you have here is the list of courses. And that's where you want your students to go to the courses. You still have your menu, and that's up here. It's hidden. The data, the image from the course. Well, you can, in a course, it's really cool. In a course, you have the course settings page, and you can simply upload an image in there or the course files, and it will show up on your front page. Dorothy, the Puffin browser. I've never heard of that, so no, I haven't been tested on that. Is that something for Android, perhaps, or I don't know? So yeah, Nadav, this is can be the course listing page on the front page. So, or it actually works on anything that shows the course with information. Android. Okay. Yeah, I just do Android testing on browser stack, and I don't think we have the Puffin browser there. It's just the default Android browser. To be honest, we just test on the biggest browsers out there, and that's just the Android stuff: Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and IE9 and newer. So for Bootstrap 3, we don't support IE8 anymore. We announced IE8 to be dead for Bootstrap. So, okay. Didn't know that. Great. Okay, I'll check it out. Thanks. So a little more on this mobile theme here. On this slide, you can see what happens if you click the burger icon, and that's the icon here, left to Moodle. Looks like a burger, so that's what we call the burger icon. And you can see we have this drop down here with the things that used to be in the settings block and in the navigation block, and added some more that's specific to this theme. So you can go to the modules, that's the activities that are important and stuff like that. Change language, go to your profile. And of course, if you're an admin, this will be a horribly large menu, but if you're a user, it's kind of okay. Well, that was one of the early themes based on Bootstrap 2, and I think that now we need to focus on what's new and popular and important in designing and creating UIs. And I think it's really nice to look at what's out there. And one of my big inspirations is Brad Frost, who created a pattern library that you can use. And a pattern library is a library of HTML elements that are styled in a certain way. They're called a pattern because, for instance, you have a media pattern that you see a lot, and a media pattern is very simple. It's just a box with an image that floats to the left and a text that is to the right of the image. That is kind of the description of the image or the activity. And that image can actually be something else too. It can be a video, it can be an icon. So that will be called the media pattern. And you see it a lot. If you use Facebook sometimes, or any other of these social platforms, you see it all the time. So there's an image of a video, and then there's the description next to it. It's really simple. And you've got all these different patterns, like how to do a navigation bar, how to do the breadcrumb, how to work with widgets or blocks. And on his site, you will find information about how to do it on a desktop and how to do it on a mobile. So that's really inspiring. Then there's a presentation by Nicole Sullivan, and I think she's really great because what she does is go into projects, and even if they're old, like Moodle is relatively old already, so it has lots of legacy code, and there's bits of CSS everywhere in the gradebook and in plugins. And what she does is go and look at a project like that and try to identify the patterns used for this project. And if you've got most of the patterns that are used, you can design a style guide for each of the patterns. So you don't style an entire page, you style small elements, like the image here in the bottom. So you've got the atoms that are the tiniest elements. And that could be, for instance, that media pattern that you use. And in Moodle, that might be something of an image with some text, or an icon with a link to an activity, or your user profile with your picture and name to the right. So that those are the different atoms, and they can all use the same bit of styling. So it doesn't mean that you have to make them the same color everywhere or something, but it's just one bit of CSS code that makes that picture or image or media thing float to the left and the description to the right. And if you've got all these different atoms that are used in Moodle, you can combine them to molecules. So perhaps that could be a section, a course section in Moodle, and then make an organism out of that. So that will be a course page where you've got all these different activities. That can be used in templates, for instance, the course formats that you use, and that results in the pages that you get served. So that would be an idea of how you can translate patterns to Moodle. There's a tracker issue about this, about creating this for Moodle 2.8. So hopefully that will happen, and the results of that would be that we have smaller CSS, we have pages that load quicker because of that, and of course that's really important for mobile devices because they have limited bandwidth, and you really need to try and create as small CSS file as you can. So a few hundred kilobytes really makes a big difference on page loads. So here's the site that I created for the Moodle in Edinburgh this year, and it was a very bleeding edge. So the technology behind this was, of course, Bootstrap, and I tried to implement some of these patterns used or provided by Brad Frost. And well, this is just, as you can see, just a regular Moodle site. Very simple. Try to make the fonts nice and similar everywhere. And then most of the work I did was on the mobile device. So I tried to make it mobile first and use these media patterns here with an image and some text to it. And you can click that image and then it loads a pop-up overlay, which people didn't really like. So I learned from that, so not to do that again. But it was a nice learning experience. And I think one of the nice features about this was that, for instance, we had long breadcrumb items, and usually they look horrible on mobiles, so they don't really align nice, and they're too big and high. And if you click the plus icon here next to Lake Poets, this menu expands and you can see its parent elements, so you can navigate to the parent. And if your breadcrumb grows really large, that will be very helpful because I think that most users on a mobile prefer this kind of navigation over the navigation block, which got pushed down the page because of the content first approach and is hard to find. I have some other design sites that I'm really inspired by. Number one is the Correspondent. It's by a company called Mumkai. It's not an LMS. It's an online newspaper. But they did win the Dutch Interaction Design Award 2 days ago, and I think that's pretty amazing. And yeah, I'll show you in a second. Number two is Smashing Magazine. and actually CSS Tricks should be there too. They provide a lot of information about design and how to work for mobiles and how to do this and that. It's just a great resource. You can go there, you can buy their books or read their articles. Those are free, so that's really nice. And there's some templates, and I particularly like the ACE template for Bootstrap. There's all these different templates that you can find on wrapbootstrap.com. There are templates you have to buy to work with, but usually they are around $15. They won't bring you a Moodle fee, but they do give you inspiration on what you could do with the user interface and how to solve issues with how to present a forum or how to present a list of comments and how to do it with JavaScript and nice styling and using Bootstrap. So, oh, I just read your message there, Nadav. How about adding site doc? I'm not sure what you mean there. Do you mean docking with that? Can you elaborate on that? So how about using site doc? So, right. Yeah, docking. It's an interesting discussion, together with multi-subnav items. Yeah, well, the problem with these elements is that they are not really considered good design and not considered good UI design. And I'm not sure if we should have them in Moodle. If we provide them, people will start using them. And then if you create a new version where you remove it again, people say it's a regression and they say that's something bad and you have to add it back in again. And I'm not sure about this yet. Maybe we should just force people to use something we think is best, or give them the option to turn it on again if they really want it, but just don't provide it by default. Maybe that would be, oh yeah, why are they considered bad UI? I think, well, of course, good UI is only good UI if you test it and it proves to be good. So I'm just assuming that it's bad because of the feedback I got from users. Users that lose their blocks, for instance, they say they don't have blocks and then they turn out to be docked. And they just don't see them anymore. They go blind for these docked icons. So that could be an issue. And the reason that docking is there, I think, is that you want more space on your page. You want to have more overview over the content that's being delivered. You don't want these annoying blocks all the time. And I think a better solution would be to have a full screen option in Moodle where you can just click a link and you see the content only. And then when you move around, it keeps it that way. But if you just you close the full screen, you have your box again. Another nice approach to using this kind of content is using something that's called, oh, I forgot the name, by the way. Well, if you move your blocks out of the page view, so imagine your blocks are somewhere hovering there to the left, you can't see them, and if you click an icon, they scroll in nicely, and you see that a lot of mobiles, and I think that would work better. So here's an example of a website that uses this kind of technology. So if you have to watch closely, but on the screenshot here, there's the correspondent website. They use really nice fonts, which I copied from them. I love them. It's called Brie, if you want to use them. And what you can see is that you've got all these widgets here and the desktop version. To the left, you've got some widgets. And if you watch closely in the bottom right of this picture, you can see an element there too. And by the way, I'll type in the link, so if you want to so that's the link to that site. You can try it out yourselves. And so here's a block region. And if you're on a mobile, all you get is the content and 2 burgers. So here's the left burger. And if you click this, it will bring up this part of the user interface where you can navigate through it and you can go to your correspondent, contact them. And then to the right, there's your personal information and the stream of articles you're interested in. So, and they're all off screen. So the blocks are somewhere here. And if you click them, they slide in nicely. So, and you can scroll down without scrolling down the entire page. I think that's a far better UI solution than having docs here floating all the time. And even on a mobile, if you have the dock enabled, you still lose this bit of space for content. So that will just give you that bit. And I think that's a waste of space, especially if you scroll down a lot. And that's what you do a lot on mobiles, right? You scroll a lot and you don't want to have this empty space here that you could use. So that's how I approach UI designs, more of what I like and what I think that looks well and works well. Yeah, it's a science on its own, of course. So let's talk a little about using mobile content or providing mobile content. Now, on this image, of course, you can see that anybody can use mobile devices, even your cat or dog. My dog really likes this game on my iPad where he has to touch these little light thingies and then he gets a sound. It's real fun, but it's really that simple. Even small children, babies can operate a tablet. So what is different here? Well, of course, it's a touch device. You don't click, you touch and you scroll. And if you design content and you want to engage your learners, you need to focus on what this device can do for you. I think it's important to use simple techniques and keeping in mind that the user interface might be slow or old. Well, the device, sorry, might be slow or old or tiny. So, and of course, tiny is important. And then you've got all of these nice tools on your mobile that you could use. For instance, messaging, email, SMS. The way I use Moodle forums is often on my mobile, and I get a nice digest through email every day. I browse through it, see if there's any interesting titles out there, and just go and have a read there. And I think that works really well for mobiles. Another important aspect is the time people spend on a mobile. Propagating readings from mobile sensors into Moodle. While there's a kind of a security issue or a privacy issue there, of course, maybe users don't want that. But on the other hand, if you have a special course and it's about, I don't know, architecture in a town or something, you could see where they are and give them information about that. Will be very complicated, but it will be cool. There's some projects out there about learning in the forests. I think it's about nature, and you can go take out your mobile and take pictures and upload them, and it tells you where you took the picture, and other people can say something about that or go visit that particular thing. It's really cool. Well, I think so. It's important to consider how students use these devices. So they use them for maybe a shorter period and they use it on their desktop. Although that's changing, of course. The younger learners are so accustomed to using their mobile, they do almost anything on it. So they'll even read big articles. And to be honest, I do that as well with the website of the correspondent. It's a newspaper and you can access it everywhere. It's just amazing. And I think using forums and seeing how users participate and reply on each other is a real nice way of using it on a mobile. And of course, these are just my opinions on it. I'm no teacher. Well, I teach some programming sometimes, but I'm not a real teacher that has to work with Moodle or is forced to do it. But these are just my opinions about it. So if you're designing content for mobile, I think it's important to use a limited set of activities. So in Moodle, if you install it, you have a huge amount of activities to choose from. You can even download plugins to add more, and you've got all these blocks everywhere. So everything is actually turned on, and I think it's a good idea to, if you have a strategy for that, to just turn on the bits you really think are important to your Moodle environment and turn off everything else. So just have a Moodle Lite for your own university, school, or organization. Um, so I think it's also important if you're providing Moodle, whether you're a developer, an admin, or a teacher, or of course as a teacher you create your courses, but it's really important to create a course yourself and to try it and to see how difficult that is and what's important there. Um, I think it's also important to make it look nice, and the easiest and most effective ways of making it look nice is making it uh, look nice through a nice fonts with good font spacing. So there's um, it reads easily on your screen, whatever device you use, and to look at the rhythm of how elements are displayed in the page. So if you've got huge gaps of white space and then suddenly everything is very crushed together, it'll look horrible. So um, creating a course that does that well might be a nice start of having a nice content strategy. And of course, most important of all, if you've done something, do testing. And testing is fun. So testing development work isn't fun, but testing something that's nearly finished is really fun because you can find some students or maybe find a family member or go visit your grandma and put her behind a desktop or a laptop or whatever your mobile device and have that person do a course. And the way I like to do it is just give them a task like you have to have a link here and here's your login details. Well, just try. And don't help them. Just ask them to think out loud. So if they're clicking something, ask them, well, maybe you need to remind them something. What are you doing? But ask them, what are you trying to do? Please say everything out loud. So I'm logging in. I'm clicking log in. I'm searching course. Where's the course link? You know, that gives you very valuable information. Um, so um, I'm going to skip this one. This one too, because I want to talk about this first. So, how do you provide a good quality of this content on your devices? And I think um, a part of the content strategy should be to remove everything that's not important. So remove blocks and remove, um, maybe even navigation, remove settings, just focus on content first. And keep images small or at least responsive. And small images are easy and quick to load on devices. And if you use a media um, set or a media pattern, they're usually
Hi Bas, Leonie from the iMoot team here. We seem to have lost your sound. Do you want to just try refreshing your screen? Okay, looks like you've logged out, so hopefully that'll fix the problem. Bear with us guys, hopefully Bas will be back in a second. Hi Bas, Leonie from the iMoot team here. Are you okay there now? Seems like we've got you back in. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. I got kicked out for some reason.
Okay,
I'm back.
great.
Oh. So, it's been, yep, okay. So I've been working on some plugins and some improvements for Moodle that I hope to release soon that bring you these kinds of elements that you could use in your course. And I'm going back to slides for that. So here's the first draft of something I'm working on right now. It's an early stage, but it's a media element. And actually these are videos. This one is Vimeo, this one's YouTube. And what you can do is just add a resource to the page, and you can select a URL from Vimeo or YouTube. And what it does, it gets a thumbnail. So this is an image. It's not really the video. It gets a thumbnail of that video, gets the description from YouTube or Vimeo, and adds it to that bit of content, and a play button. And as soon as you click the play button, the image gets replaced by the iframe that has the YouTube video in it, or Vimeo. And the reason I did this was because if you have, for instance, a course with lots of media, which is really awesome sometimes, you might have 20 videos in there, or 10 even. Problem is that with each video that gets embedded into a course page, you have to load a lot of JavaScript, the iframes, maybe a bit of the video buffering, and that takes up a lot of time if you're on a mobile. And I want to have the description as well. So, and all that information is provided by the APIs of Vimeo and YouTube, and it's really easy to get that into a course. So I'm working on that right now. Another approach I've tried is making it pop up in a model like this if you click play, so it's nice and big and it's easy to watch. I'm not sure if that's the right approach, but it is something I'm working on, and I'll be releasing that soon. Another bit of work I'm doing right now is to try to have something for responsive images. Oh yeah, Nadav, the dynamic loading as you scroll, I've noticed that. It's kind of cool, isn't it? It's annoying and cool, I think. And Natalie, I'm releasing it, I think, somewhere next week. It will be alpha code, so please don't use it on your production environments yet. It needs to be evaluated and tested, and I really want other developers' opinions about that. Where? Oh, where? I will just release it on GitHub first, and well, as soon as it's beta code, I'll do it on Moodle.org. So yeah. So this other project I'm trying to work on is responsive images, and in this slide I called it filter because at the time I created this slide, it was still a filter. So what it did was just take the images from Moodle, see how big the image was and how big the container was that the image was in. And if the image was bigger than the container, it will resize it to be smaller. But there's a problem there. If you look at the background image, you see this nice big picture. And I wanted to have a smaller version for tablets that is a cropped version of the image displaying the main content. And then on mobile, I want to have it resized as well to make it load as quick as it can and focus on content. Okay, Nadav, that's cool. Well, I tried doing it with a filter first, but of course, a filter doesn't allow a user to select what's important in a picture. And PHP doesn't know what's important in a picture, so we need to figure out a way of having users select that. Well, I was really happy that with Moodle 2.7 we now have a very customizable editor that's both responsive and you can add all these cool new widgets to it, and there's even a template for it to create your own. And I'm really hoping to do some work on that and to make it work in a way that if you upload an image, the teacher or student can have an option to crop the image and to display it in a size that is the real image size and not this 5 megabyte picture in a container that makes it look 200 pixels wide. How do you know on what to focus when you resize? Well, I'm hoping to have the user make a cropped version of it for mobiles, so they can they don't have to, but they can. So if you have some content and you upload the image, you can just select it and that's being displayed on mobile. That's all. But of course, there's it's a little difficult because there's all these techniques out there that you could use. On Smashing Magazine, there's this article about all the different approaches to this, but most of them use jQuery. And I need to create something that works for UI to support it in Moodle. That makes it a little more difficult. But yeah. That's where I'm at now. And well, thank you all very much for attending this presentation. And I've probably missed some of your questions in the chat, but feel free to ask them again if you have any questions, or if you would like to tell a little about your experiences with Bootstrap and Moodle and theming. Feel free to share it or take the mic or whatever you like. Thanks.
Hi, Baz. It's
Natalie.
Natalie.
Hi, Betsy.
Thank you.
Again. Just thought I'd jump in and say a big thank you to you for your time and your effort in the presentation this evening, this morning or today, whatever time it may be in your time zone. Once again, we do really appreciate your support, and yeah, thanks for that great information. That was great, and I will leave the room open for further conversation.
Thank you. I think Natalie unmuted her mic, so Natalie, if you would like to say something.
Hi, everybody. It's Natalie here from Australia, just a few hours north of Sydney. Thank you very much for that presentation. It was wonderful, and also thanks for the Bootstrap themes you put into Moodle. It really is taking Moodle up to a huge step. A few of us were talking the other day about some different topics, and I read some articles, and I've been playing around with Bootstrap 3 with Gareth's shoehorn theme, so it was very, very appropriate to come to this session. One of the things I wanted to ask is, Dorothy, it's only when I talk 45 minutes at a time that my voice turns into a frog. I've got a good 5 minutes in me, so I'll make the most of it. My students, I've been teaching video editing and web design for many years, and I've been using Code Academy to teach them HTML for the last probably 4 times now. And the result that I'm getting from my students with what they're actually producing within the amount of time that I'm giving them, if I would have measured it statistically, which I wish I had, would be something like 500% better. And also WeVideo.com is a browser-based video editing tool that integrates with Google Drive, and I've just had a bunch of people publish videos for the first time, and I'm seeing a huge increase in the quality of what they're putting out within the time. And I'm putting it down to good user interface design, that instead of me throwing Adobe Premiere at them, which has a screen full of 1,000 choices for industry professionals, WeVideo offers a beginner level by default, which is extremely minimal. It just looks like Windows Movie Maker. And a lot of people are giving up on it because they think, oh, it's just a drag and drop and add a transition and publish. But if you go into the menu, you can go into advanced mode, then you get your layered timelines, and then you can change your opacity through time, but you have to turn those features on as your skills and your confidence improves. Code Academy is different. It's successful because it gives you one task to do, and then the computer, because it's so AI, knows if you put the bracket or the comma in the right place and tells you yes or no, that was correct, and gives you instant feedback, and then provides a hint button for more information as you need it. And for me as a teacher, I could never give them that level of observation and feedback, so it slowed down their learning process. So what I'm getting at is, could Moodle ever offer an interface that is light and simple and easy and wizard-like, I suppose, in the first instance, and then build up to these more complicated options like the other software is doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for that, and thanks for sharing that. I think Moodle is very different from lots of other tools where you have a backend where a teacher goes in and then a front end that looks the same for everybody. So whether you're a teacher or a student, you'll get all these options in the front end. And but that's just not how Moodle was designed. It was designed to make to have every option for the teacher in the page itself. So I think now that Moodle has that approach, it's not easy to move away from that. It will be just impossible to create a backend anymore because everything's coded to be in the front end. So if we want to do it that way, I think we should give them a nice template and a nice way to work. And Sussex University has a nice example of this. It's simplified. So if a teacher creates a course, what happens is that it creates a course with just one topic, and you are forced to give the first topic a name and a description. So once you've done that, you've created your first topic, and you start adding perhaps some forum or an activity, and then it gives you the interface to create a simple activity again. And it all tries to do it in a very structured and ordered way. And I think that could be compared to something that starts off with a simple interface, and once you get experienced in adding sections to a course, you get more options to add more resources to each item. So maybe that's a nice comparison to that. I'm not sure. Another approach, of course, is to have different roles, roles that can do more and roles that can do less. So if a user claims to be experienced, you can give them more options, allow them to do more things in courses. But yeah, I just think that's the tools that we need to work with to make it user-friendly to teachers as well. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Do you know if that Sussex template is private, or are there any demos anywhere that we could see?
There's a blog from Sussex University where they share a lot of information about this. By the way, I'm just trying to find the link. So this is their Moodle environment, and I think you do Sussex blog. Yeah, there it is. On the blog, there's a lot of information in it, and there's this part about how they do their courses too, and you'll find some presentations if you Google it from Stuart Lemore or Paolo Operandi. They both did a lot of work for the Sussex University on that, and well, I think it's a great resource. The only thing is that code is not public. It's even Moodle 1.9. Can you imagine? It's still 1.9, but what they did is just create a new LMS, something that isn't Moodle anymore. But I think they did some nice things for that you could try to do in Moodle version 2.0 new or something.
Yeah.
So
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that information.
okay. I saw this question from Nadav, if I'm familiar with JS Rosetta. Yes, I am. It's a nice site where you can see the solution on how to do things in YUI if you're a jQuery developer. So that can be helpful. And yeah, the HQ mobile app, I haven't really discussed the mobile app. I think it's a really nice tool, and it's not there yet. It still needs work to have all the modules and activities provided by this app. But if you try the app and you find that you can do a lot with the tools at hand there, I think it's a quicker solution than using a mobile theme. It will always be quicker on an app, but you'll just miss out lots of the user interface elements that you have on a theme. And yeah, the other reason, of course, is that Moodle is going to evolve more and more, and the app will need to keep up to date and, you know, need to be worked on for each Moodle release. And I think that's a huge task. Not sure if that's going to work. Yeah, most of it's just links. That's true. Yeah, but they are improving it, and there's a template for creating a module for the app as well. So if you're creating a custom module, you can create an app version too, and it's all open source. So you can adapt it and improve it if you want. So yeah, I hope I answered your questions. And if you have any more, feel free to ask, and otherwise I'll end this session. Oh, thanks, Nadav. Okay, well, I guess I'll end the session, and thank you all very much for being here. And yeah, it's just really cool to be able to talk to all different people around the globe. That's awesome, I think. And thanks to the iMoot organization team as well, of course. That's really awesome. So thanks a lot.
Bas, once again, thanks so much for your presentation. Really appreciate your time. Guys, just to let you know what's coming up in the next session, we've actually got a super session from Joseph Thibault from the USA, so that'll be a great session. So I encourage you to jump back in about 25 minutes. That'll be coming up. Thanks, everybody, and hope you're enjoying iMoot, and we'll catch you soon.